Welcome back. Well, yes, we will have that conversation soon. But before that, let's flip to Abuja. We're going to the field. Now, remember, today, the Nigeria Labour Congress are converging on Abuja. We'll find out what is going on at the moment. We've got our correspondent, Kayla Megwa, who is on ground there to give us an update. Hello, Kayla. What is going on at the moment where you are?
Hello, Chamberlain, and good morning, everyone. We are at the Unity Fountain in Abuja. We came here when there was no one, but right now there's a lot of people from the Nigerian Labour Congress all getting ready for this protest that is in solidarity with the Academic Staff Union of Universities. The past president of ASUU is here. The present president of ASUU is here as well. We're waiting for the president of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Mr. Yuba Waba, to get here. He's going to address this crowd behind me, and then they're going to have a feel of what today's protest is going to look like. They're going to be marching, we're told, to the National Assembly. If the gates are open, they're going to go in. If the gates are not open, they will be at the gate. But they do have a message that they need to deliver to the leadership of this country. And according to the people that we've spoken to today, that message has to do with the ASUU strike. And they're saying, look, we cannot continue like this. Kids cannot be at home for 5 months. And that is the message that they want to send today. But the protest is going to start here. There's a lot of police presence around us. We're told that the police are here to actually protect the protesters, all right? So it's not a situation where Labour is at variance with the police. But they're going to be guarding the protesters and then leading them as they go all the way to the National Assembly to deliver this message to the leadership of Nigeria in solidarity with the Academic Staff Union of University. So we're basically waiting right now for the president of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Mr. Yuba Waba, to address this crowd before the protest begins, Chamberlain.
Thank you very much indeed, Kayla. So we will keep tabs with you and get updates as we proceed. So there you go. You know that you need to keep it locked here if you want to get some updates concerning the NLC-ASUU protest. Well, let's stay in Abuja, as a matter of fact. We've got our next guest lined up already. Markwe.
Thank you, Chamberlain. Indeed, anticipating the World Anti-Trafficking Day, we have with us in our studios this morning Dr. Fatima Waziri-Azi, who is the Director General of NAPTIP. Good morning and welcome to our studios in Abuja.
Thank you.
It's our first time hosting you here on Sunrise Daily, right?
Yes.
Since you assumed office as the Director General.
Yes.
Oh, well, I don't know. First, how would you say you found your work as the Director General at NAPTIP? How has it been?
Mokwe, it's a lot of work. It's been very intense, but we just have to do what we need to do. Amplify our responses, amplify our prosecutions and awareness creation. But it's a lot of work. If we say 4 or 5 years ago, and anyone asks, where's the epicenter for human trafficking in Nigeria? We could easily have said it's Edo or Delta State. But right now, it's a national crisis. No state is immune from human trafficking, even though trends and proportionality may differ, but we have it currently cut across all states.
Well, interestingly, awareness has grown. Your predecessor in office also did a great job, at least in bringing to the fore the job that NAPTIP was doing. And a lot of people, grew their awareness about human trafficking. But has it really changed anything in terms of how this challenge of, human trafficking, the dimensions it is currently assuming, has it really changed anything? First, I want you to speak to the Edo dimension, the fact that people knew that Edo was the, at the heart of human trafficking before now. Would we say that we've seen a reduction there? Have there been any changes made as a result of the awareness?
Yes, when we talk about Edo State, Edo has actually, they've been able to put their house in order. So they have a lot of interventions targeted at the youths. So when we talk about forced migration, we are looking at trafficking in persons, smuggling of migrants, and irregular migration. So if you look at the Edo situation, they have more of smuggling of migrants and irregular migration. Of course, they also have components of human trafficking. But, we look at the key drivers of human trafficking. What are those root causes of human trafficking? Number 1 is poverty. Number 2 is lack of job opportunities, educational opportunities. Then we look close to the family unit. We also have greed. We also have ignorance. So people don't really understand the dimensions of human trafficking. They don't understand the risk of human trafficking. But when you have some socio-economic and socio-political checks in place, it helps to reduce that. And this is something that Edo has done. They've invested a lot in youth empowerment. They've invested a lot in entrepreneurship. They have this very fantastic program called Edo Jobs, which is targeted at the youth. So yeah, so Edo, they're trying. Then of course, we have the prosecution part. I think they have designated courts that handle trafficking in persons cases in Edo.
Okay, so it's interesting to note that there is some progress being made, but now you say that the problem is a national one. And I know that, you know, also before now there has been talk that intra-human trafficking within Nigeria was getting to proportions that were worrisome. Which one would you say is a bigger worry for you? The one happening from Nigeria to the outside world, or the one happening within the Nigerian space?
When we look at the data we have in NAPTIP, so data from 2019 to 2022, currently 61% of trafficking that goes on in Nigeria happens internally. So trafficking that happens within the states and within communities. Then we also have trafficking that happens across state lines. Then 39% happens across our borders. I would say the one that happens internally actually keeps me up at night, because we have a lot of sexual exploitation, state-to-state sexual exploitation. We have a lot of child labor. We have a lot of forced labor. We have a humongous problem in terms of buying and selling of children. So there's this trend where children are stolen from the north and sold to different parts of Nigeria. So it's a huge problem. We can't focus on the internal problem without the external problem. So it's something we need to tackle, you know, side by side.
I just try to internalize some of the challenges, you know, which are, for the avoidance of doubt, for people who are watching this program, can you tell us precisely, when you say internal trafficking, what precisely do you mean? I mean, how is a person trafficked internally?
Okay, let me give you an instance. We recently handled a case in Enugu where a 15-year-old girl was trafficked from Ebonyi to Enugu State for sexual exploitation. So that is internal trafficking. Then you have where children are stolen from one part of the Nigeria and sold to another part of Nigeria. That in itself is trafficking.
I ask this because we know that in Nigeria we have a domestic help situation.
Yes.
Where, you know, we know that there are people who are supposed that, let's say patrons, or I don't know what name to call them now. They bring people from certain parts of the country to cities, Lagos, Abuja, and different parts of the country. And, you know, from there, people get their domestic help from these people. Does that also qualify as trafficking? Yes,
our act is very clear on the crime of domestic servitude. So if we look at, I think it's contained in Section 23 of the Trafficking in Persons Prohibition, Enforcement and Administration Act of 2015. It clearly says anyone who employs, recruits, transfers, harbors a child under 12 years has committed a crime. So in the definition itself, you can see it's an entire value chain. So it doesn't matter if you are the end user, if you participated in any form, if you recruited that child, if you transferred that child, if you harbored that child. So the person has to be below the age of 12. That is what it's stipulated in our act. But of course, you look at the Child's Right Act, it says a child is below 18 years. Then when you look at our labor laws, so it's a problem. We actually need to harmonize our laws. So NAPTIP Act says below 12 years. Child Rights Act says below 18 years, even though it gives an exception of a child below 15 years can do light work. But then what is light work? You know, so we actually need to harmonize our laws. But we'll have a crisis in terms of domestic servitude in Nigeria.
Well, I'm also looking at, you know, the theme for this year, and the theme is use and abuse of technology. I do not know whether it has a bearing on our own peculiar problem here in Nigeria. Is it something that we can identify with, the use of technology in in the crimes that we currently face with human trafficking in Nigeria?
Oh, yes. If nothing, COVID-19 has reinforced the importance of digital communications. So with the COVID-19 pandemic, we saw a shift from physical recruitment to virtual recruitment. So in NAPTIP, we saw a lot of fake online job advertorials. We saw an increase in fake scholarships around the world posted on social media handles. Then unsuspecting victims will now go, click on it, and the next thing you start interacting with a trafficker. So yes, it's something that resonates with us, and for me, I think it couldn't have come at a better time, considering the shift in the antics of human trafficking. So it's something we see, you know, incremental cases of the use of technology.
Let me flip this conversation to Lagos now. Ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, thank you, Maukwe. Dr. Fatima, a report from NAPTIP says that between 2018 and I believe 2021, 500 trafficked Nigerians were rescued from Mali. I wonder if, in that regard, the agency is turning its searchlight to similar situations in those Arabian countries where a lot of Nigerians are suffering domestic abuse from their employers and from those who traffic them to those countries who are demanding some form of payment. And tell us what interagency collaboration is like in dealing with this problem, particularly with diplomatic missions abroad, which also have, you know, their own challenges.
Yeah, thank you for your question. And yes, you're right. There's an increase in trafficking in these countries. We have a lot in Saudi Arabia. We have now in Dubai. I think in the past 2 weeks, we've actually treated, let me say, more than 20 reports from Dubai in terms of forced exploitation. So for us in NAPTIP, we do a lot of, so when we get these reports, we do the initial triage. We have a department called Intelligence and International Cooperation. So we do the initial triage. We identify, we'll establish communication with the victim wherever they are. Then we collaborate with the law enforcement agencies in that country to rescue them. But in terms of repatriation, we rely on the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, we rely on NSA, we rely on everyone that can help repatriate these victims back. And under the International Organization for IOM, they have a program called Assistant Voluntary Return and Reintegration Program, where they assist in returning victims of human trafficking back to Nigeria. So it's something that we at NAPTIP, we can't tackle by ourselves. So the approach that we use is a whole of government and whole of society approach in tackling this trans-border crime.
Also, a report from your zonal command in Uyo says that you received 1,035 cases, that's in 2021, and that the command convicted about 52 traffickers. This is a rather low number compared with the number of cases that you have received. How strong is your mechanism for prosecution? Is that a challenge in that regard? Does the agency need some sort of boosting in terms of personnel that will pursue prosecution?
Yeah, I agree with you, because when we consider the enormity of the different trends of human trafficking, you expect that probably NAPTIP should be, at the we should have cases, covering our faces. But to give you, to share some data from inception, so from 2003 till date, NAPTIP has secured a total of 525 convictions. And 28 convictions and counting just for the year 2022. So in terms of challenges in prosecuting these cases, of course, we have very low reportage, so people don't report the crime, and victims most times don't cooperate with us, and the reason why they don't cooperate with us is because these traffickers are known to them. So when we look at our data, we look at our statistics, people are trafficked by people they know. So you have sisters trafficking sisters, you have brothers trafficking brothers, you have uncles and aunts trafficking nieces and nephews. So when we rescue them, okay, come help us so that we can arrest the perpetrator. It's usually, oh, we don't remember, or we don't know. So these are challenges that we face. Then we also face challenges in procuring victims from remote areas. Because we all know, of course, when you are prosecuting trafficking cases, you need victims, you need witnesses, you need everyone to make the case stronger. So just to share a bit of the challenges we face in terms of prosecuting trafficking in persons cases. But largely, you have low reportage. Then you also have communities that do not cooperate with us. They tend to protect these traffickers against NAPTIP because they believe these traffickers are indeed doing something good.
I always imagine just how dangerous the kind of work you do is. And I just want to know, in terms of partnership, first, I mean, two questions I have, but first in terms of, getting the right protection for, your staff and people you work with, because it's a very tricky one. You've talked about how close, these people can be sometimes, family members. So imagine you trying to solve an issue between family members. You might be caught in the crossfire. They might rat your people out. So in terms of protection, ensuring that at least while you are trying to help out with trafficking, you are protected as well. Would you say you are covered in that area?
Well, we try. Like I said, most of the work we do, we collaborate with sister agencies. So we have a lot of police officers seconded to us. But to be honest, it's not enough. You've highlighted the fact that it's a dangerous job that we do. We constantly put our lives on the line. Just a few months ago, we had a case of a trafficker who was convicted. And this trafficker, for some reason, got hold of a phone in the prison and called the investigating officer, the lady that worked on the case, and literally threatened her to say, oh, NAPTIP, you have convicted me, I'm in prison, I will come for you. So these are things that we see every day in our line of work. We don't have the powers to arm ourselves, so our officers, our operatives don't carry guns. So we rely a lot on DSS, we rely a lot on the police, we also rely a lot on NSCDC. But in terms of our protection, we just do what we need to do and pray to God, we stay safe.
Right. And I see figures, interestingly, that trafficking occurs more inside the country than outside. I think about 61% in country, but I mean, doesn't rule out the, 39% that happens outside. Now, we've seen cases, several cases, in fact, one recently, where someone is taken outside the country for different reasons, maybe to help or to do some other things. And they get to that country and it's a different ballgame entirely, perhaps because the laws are different. And then we have a huge, mess on our hands when it comes to those cases. So is it a challenge with harmonizing the laws? Perhaps the laws in Nigeria are different from laws in those countries, such that what is permissible here is not in those countries? Or is this as a result of not following due process in those issues?
In terms of international law, we have the United Nations Convention on Transnational Organized Crime. And it was based on this convention so Nigeria domesticated this convention, and the UNTOC, as it's called, also has specific protocols that speak to specific transnational crimes. So in terms of human trafficking, we have the protocol to prevent, suppress, and punish trafficking in persons, especially women and children. So most countries now enact legislations in accordance to UNTOC and its optional protocols. So yes, we talk about sovereignty. Our laws may be different from the laws of other countries, but human trafficking is human trafficking. The elements are the same. It's a crime against the person. So the elements are the same. But in terms of rescue and repatriation, of course, we have to work with the law enforcement agency in these countries.
The acts say regarding, who may be trafficked, especially for the domestic helps, as Mark said, and there's some sort of discrepancies. 12 years, labor law says 18 years, or the Child Rights Act rather says child is someone below 18 and all of that. There's need for harmonization, but so we are clear, what are the elements, the basic elements of trafficking? Because for all you care, some people might be involved in it right now, and they don't know. It's something they probably have been doing time immemorial, and they thought, I mean, it's only right. I'm helping this person. So what are the basic elements to look out for in terms of trafficking?
Okay, so when we talk about the definition of trafficking, so trafficking is the recruitment, transportation, transfer, harboring, receipt of a person through the means of fraud, through the means of coercion, through the means of deception for the sole purpose of exploitation. So when we talk about the sole purpose of exploitation, it could be for sexual exploitation, it could be for domestic servitude, it could be for forced labor, it could be for buying and selling of human beings, slavery, and all slavery-like activities. So it's an entire value chain. So as long as you participate in the means and the act, you are culpable.
So right now, as we anticipate the celebration, sometimes I'm a little confused whether we're celebrating, whether we're marking, you know, well, highlighting the day as we await the Human Trafficking Day. What are you going to be asking of Nigerians? How do you think that they can cooperate and support the work that you do at NAPTIP?
Yeah, about working with NAPTIP, it's just simple. You see something, you say something. If you don't report, we can't do our jobs.
Who should they be saying something to? To
NAPTIP, we have our reporting channels. So we have a short code, which is 627. We have an emergency number, which is 0703 00 00 203. It's 24 hours. We run a 24 hours call center. We have our email address, which is info@naptip.gov.ng. We have our social media handles on Facebook, NAPTIP Nigeria. We have presence on Instagram, also NAPTIP Nigeria. And on Twitter as well, we have a Twitter handle. So we ensure confidentiality. Anyone who shares information with us, be rest assured that, you know, no one is going to rat you out. Nobody is going to say you reported. But without the assistance of Nigerians, we won't be able to effectively carry our work. And, you know, when you get offers as young people, when someone comes to you to say, I have an opportunity for you to live a better life, you ask questions. You need to educate yourself on the red flags. What are those questions to ask? Also do your research.
Considering the fact that children below the ages of 12 could be targeted, are you taking this advocacy also to schools?
Yes.
To secondary schools and primary schools?
Yes, we are. So beginning of the year, we got approval from the Federal Ministry of Education to set up what we call vanguards in secondary school. So basically, vanguards is just a platform for young people to educate themselves on issues of human trafficking and also violence against persons. And since June, so far, we've been able to establish these vanguards in 28 federal government unity schools. So we are starting with the federal government unity schools. Then progressively, we'll move into private schools, move into government schools.
Okay, so just quickly again, the short code.
627.
627?
Yes. Okay. Emergency number 0703 00 00 203. Email info@naptip.gov.ng.
627 is the short code. I think I can have that in my head. Thank you so much for coming on this morning. We wish you all the very best. Dr. Fatima Waziri-Azi is the Director General of NAPTIP. Thank you once again for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
We'll take a break at this point. We'll be back to discuss just one more thing, so please don't go away.